Yeah, so I've done my hands underneath. I want to kiss him too. That was adorable. Oh my gosh. That's funny stuff. Funny stuff, Mrs. Ryan.
Funny stuff.
All right, something very familiar about all this.
What do you mean?
Well, last time we, all right, for everybody else, I'll just let you in on this. This is our second time doing this. We didn't get too far, but, issues. We're not above issues. They still creep up. Welcome back. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Gary. Good evening, Mrs. Good evening, my friend at home. Tonight is Thursday, March 5th, 2020. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. And Mrs. and I are sitting here in the set with Gary Schechner, who is an artist we've been talking about a lot on the show lately. Recently, we had that Porsche girl here as a guest. And in addition to the beautiful conversation we had with her and shared with her, she had a lovely shirt on that had art on it that was from this gentleman. We called it Stuttgart Gauge Art. And I think he's actually going to run with that because it's pretty good, not for nothing.
It's pretty good.
But Gary Schechner is here this evening, and we're going to have a great conversation with him in a few minutes. We thought we'd be having it now, but we're doing this instead. Welcome back. I'm going to pretend I didn't cross some of this stuff out. How are you feeling, first of all, Cookie
Great.
Monster?
Awesome.
That's what you said last time. I wanted to make a mention very quickly about our guest from yesterday, Ed Krasnick. Ed Krasnick, the show itself is very short. We highly recommend you watch it. It's not Porsche related as much, so we're thinking people might not click on it that as likely. Whatever. What did I say last time? It was much more fluid. Let me just have a sip of this here, Mrs. Ryan. Thank you. All right, Gary Schechner is here, as I told you. We're excited about that. But Ed Krasnick from yesterday, he was an incredibly positive person. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I expected from the show other than Richard Chasler always books good people, so we knew it was going to be a good conversation. But I feel like he's aligned with what we do, with his positivity, and he puts it into his work and his art. And I just find the whole thing fascinating. And he really left his mark with me. It wasn't just that I was working on the show later. I couldn't stop thinking about him, the guy. And I don't know what I mean by that other than I think we might work together at some point, and we didn't say that. I don't know why I'm saying it now, but energetically I felt a really good alignment. So highly recommend going to check out that show.
I felt that also, and Porsche people do seem to know who he is, so...
Well, that surprised me with
around.
who you said you were talking to. That surprised me.
Me too, and looking back, it makes sense, between Curb and Sopranos. He worked on both those.
Oh, you knew him as okay, gotcha. In my mind, I was thinking, because of the person you were talking to, I was thinking it was the executive placement, his top secret job that he couldn't talk too much about, but he said was so fascinating and interesting.
It might be part of that, but he knew who he was, and
gotcha.
It's super neat.
All right.
Never know.
There's a bunch of stuff to do today. One thing I want to try. Let's see if we can see if this will work. Make a phone call. We're going to do a new segment, Mrs. Ryan. This is a new segment entitled... That's not it. What's it called, Mrs. Ryan? It's entitled, How You Coping?
You got it.
Oh my goodness gracious! It's titled "How You Coping," and we are going to the topic of How You Coping today is coronavirus, and we are going to place a phone call here and see if this works. Let me know if you can hear this in your phone.
I hear the ring.
All right, good. Here we go. What's that? Oh yeah. Thanks. Goodness gracious.
Hello.
Hello. I'm trying to reach Kat DeLorean. This is Jay Ryan calling, and I was wondering if you had a few minutes to speak on the air.
I always have a few minutes for you, Jay Ryan.
Hi, Kat. I'm here with Mrs.
Hi, Jay.
I'm here with Mrs. and we're doing a new segment on the show entitled, Mrs. What's it called? How You Coping? And today's topic of conversation is coronavirus. We wanted to check in with the Kat Seymour family and see how everything is going with you guys and how you're coping with the coronavirus.
Well, that is a very good question that I really appreciate you asking, Mr. J. Ryan, because our family actually has a unique situation with this coronavirus thing going around. And I have found that by sharing our story with some people, they are kind of being given some compassion and a little more understanding about what families like us go through during an outbreak like this. Our family has, my youngest daughter was born with a heart condition called hypoplastic left heart. It means she was born with half a heart. So she is one of those people who are, it only affects old people and immunocompromised. She's a person. It's a message that's going around that kind of makes it feel like it's almost okay. It's just going to affect these people, and that becomes that creates a level of complacency that can be dangerous to people like her. And so, what we're trying to do is just make people aware of what families like us go through, so that they can be better understanding in their communities, and they can reach out to people like us who might be in need of some of the supplies that are in short supply. Our family actually has to go through incredible infection control protocols every flu season. So I have a monthly supply of disinfectants that come, and I didn't plan on having to stock up because they come every month in my delivery from Amazon, things like hand sanitizer and disinfectants. And so when it came time that everybody had stocked up on all of these things, I didn't think about it, and our family ran out of the things that we actually need to use every day. We've been very fortunate that our community around us has helped us out through this. And so other people out there might be like us, and they might be in need of some of these things that you stockpile to protect your family. But maybe you know somebody who might have somebody who's been sick or even older that might need to take some extra measures. Right now, coronavirus has actually reached our backyard. We spent a lot of time debating when we are being unreasonable to actually take extraordinary measures. And we said when it reaches New England, we'll start to talk about it. Then when it reached New Hampshire, we really started to talk about it. And when we found out that there were students in my daughter's high school prevented from returning to school because they had traveled to Italy, but the policy of New Hampshire was to not prevent the siblings from going, and we did not know if they had any siblings because we didn't know who these students were, we made the decision that our family had to go on lockdown. And what this means for a family like us is we actually pulled both of our children from school. We're working with the school districts. They've been fantastic.
Wow.
And we have to hunker down in our house. So our family has now self-isolated, even though we're not sick. And a lot of people with immunocompromised family members are going to be doing this in your communities around you. I had to do the grocery pickup so that I limit the amount of people we have interaction with. So we ordered our groceries online and went to pick them up at the store. Before they come into our house, we actually had to disinfect every item that came into the house with the sanitary wipes, with the disinfectant wipes, because this isn't a matter of if she gets it, she might be somebody who recovers. This will kill her. And when you have the 100% chance of dying, you suddenly take these extraordinary measures. So people may just not. I like to say, just like the people who pull up at the diesel pump, they didn't do it maliciously. They've clearly never owned a diesel car, and they don't understand that they've just taken the only pump you can use. Until you've owned a diesel, you don't know how frustrating that is. This is the same case. I don't think people are trying to be malicious or not thinking about it. I just don't think that there's been no face to these numbers. There's been no humanity to these statistics. So I've been trying to spread a story, and I've been trying to, again, spread compassion, not coronavirus.
I love that.
Because it's what's going to save families like ours who we can't go outside our door if the people who need to self-isolate are not taking these precautions. We can't leave our door and go into our communities if everybody else is not helping to protect us.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you've had great luck with your community, though, which is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We've been very fortunate, again, but also we've been very vocal. So there might be a lot of people out there who aren't as comfortable reaching out to other people and asking for help. So just be cognizant and aware of the people who are around you in your community. And but most of all, the biggest thing that everybody can do is to not take this seriously. I hear people talking about taking advantage of oh, nobody's traveling right now, I'm going to go travel everywhere. That says to me that you don't understand the importance of people taking extra steps to prevent the spread of this, so that families like ours can actually manage the severity of what happens with family members like ours.
Right. Gosh. All right. Well, hang in there. It sounds like you're doing a great job, and it sounds like you as a family are, your tight bond is wonderful. So just, stick together, and you'll get through this. We all will. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. We live and work at home. And sometimes that can be a negative, you want to get outside and see some sunshine. But when it comes to something like this, it's kind of been a positive because our life isn't that uprooted. But when we hear stories about like our friend Carson Chan, who's been stuck here for a month because he lives in Hong Kong and he can't go home, it kind of adds some perspective to the whole issue. So thank you so much for sharing what you're dealing with and letting us know how you're coping with the coronavirus. But we love you so much. And by all means, if there's ever anything you want to share with us, call the show.
Sure. I love you guys too. And thank you very much for helping to spread this message. It means a lot to me. You
betcha. Spreading compassion, not coronavirus.
Compassion, not coronavirus. That's right. Thank you.
It's a hashtag. Love you. Talk to you soon.
It's a hashtag. Bye.
Love you, Kat.
Oh, that's funny stuff. Funny stuff,
She's
Mrs.
awesome.
Ryan. She is. She had sent me a message earlier saying, if you have any time on the show, what do you think? And I was like, yeah,
so
absolutely.
Cool.
For if anybody, in case you are just tuning in now or aren't sure, that was Kat DeLorean, who is daughter of John DeLorean, the automotive
DeLorean guy.
Absolutely, sure, the Gullwing, but as our guest pointed out earlier, the GTO. Did you say your dad had a GTO?
My dad had a GTO.
That's so cool. What year was it?
My mom learned to drive stick shift on it.
Oh my gosh, what year was it?
I want to say it was a 66, but don't quote me on it.
Oh, I just quoted you. Oh, shoot.
I'm not sure he'll correct me once he watches this.
It's so funny. I feel like 67 might have been the first year, but I might be making that up too.
Oh.
Maybe that's just a desirable one that people like. Anyway, all right, that was fun. We got that out of the way. Mrs. Ryan, we did that. I'm a little confused for what we've done and what we haven't done because this is second time
Take
through. East Coast feeds. Did
We
do
have
East Coast
not
feed yet?
done them, I don't think.
It's time to check in. Close out the week with Danbury Chive, East Coast feed. I think it's Brooke and the Casman. Let's see. Whoa, shit. Jeez. Here they go. Roll it, Hal.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, look, it's Brooke and the Casman. Brooke treated me today to a massage and a pedicure. Yeah, I'm manly enough to get a pedicure. What? Okay? Hey, Mr. Ryan, look what we got.
Hey.
Another Apple TV. You know why? Because I'm still using the one that you got for me like a million years ago. That was it. Just want to say some random love. Get in the car. What? You're yelling at me. She's yelling at me. I think she's there. We love you guys anyway.
Oh, gosh. That's so great.
I concur.
Well, I said it last time, so I feel like I'm repeating myself. But I love watching another couple be another couple.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Get in the car. What are you yelling at me for?
I love that girl. She's my new favorite.
All right, well, here's a little bit more of her. One more time. Roll it, Hal.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, look, it's Brooke and the Casman. What's going on, kids?
Hi.
Feel free to say anything you want.
I'm too embarrassed for my last podcast.
Internet? Brooke, internet. Nothing.
Hi.
So, hey, we're just home. It's Casa de Kaz night. Brooke's doing some dishes. Daddy's cooking. Look at boom. Look at that. Boom. It's all happening right behind you. There's a lot of stuff happening here. This is our random weekday night. Actually, it's a Friday night. I know it won't be aired on Friday, but people understand. And that's what we do for fun. Right, babe?
I just want to apologize for my last appearance.
This is very loud. See, production value, they can't hear you doing dishes. Doing dishes is good.
Right.
Listening, production value, not so much. Let's say it again, baby. Go ahead. Tell me what you're going to say.
I don't ever drink, so.
And Jay, you're right. Yeah, she's allergic to alcohol.
Yes, I'm allergic to alcohol.
So that's why, yeah, that was the thing. Anyway, but she was fine, and she's okay. We love you guys.
Bye.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. But here's the thing. She's apologizing for what was our, and probably a lot of people's favorite East Coast feed.
Yeah.
She's apologizing for the loosey-goosey Brooke who was so funny in the car that night. Oh, my gosh. That's my favorite one. I mean, really, that and when she fell on Bank Street. That was so funny. So funny.
I love you, dude. Don't worry about it.
Gosh, that's funny. And then also they were talking about the restaurant on Bank Street that was it was Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds,
It was the pizza place of Mr. Deeds, but now it's called whatever it's called. They keep referencing it. We just watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm the other day, and there was a whole episode based on that restaurant of the same name. Wasn't that weird?
It's so weird.
Zaragoza or something like that?
It's very
so
odd.
Funny.
How our world works.
Also, and they were picking up an Apple TV there. I introduced Kaz to the Apple TV world. Actually, anything technological. From surround sound to PlayStation. I mean, all of the things back in the day. Anyway, it used to be a thing. I'd always stay with him, so I'd always get him a gift when we were there. You know, he's letting me stay in his home. We'd always get something, whether it's stereo or something. And it's been a while since we've gone to visit, so he had to buy his own Apple TV. I feel a little bit guilty. So adorable.
I'll point out the cords to you next time. You can fix those.
Yeah, no, I can't fix anything. I gave up on that a long time ago. I'm partly responsible because I introduced him to all that shit, and then he just ran with it.
Right.
All right. Now it's time, Mrs. Ryan, to do a TBT. It's Thursday. That's what we always do. We take a stroll down memory lane.
Let's see.
What we're looking at this week, hopefully, if everything goes well. This is where it went in the shitter last time. I think it's going to be the Breakfast Club. When we tried to go to Breakfast Club lit weekend last year.
Okay.
All right. Roll it out. Well, yellow card needed a wash. Definitely pretty wet. But I'm thinking no snow. It's like 52 right now. I'm thinking we're gonna be okay. So, hi Mrs. Ryan. So we're heading up now. See you in a few. Well, we had to stop at the helipad because this weather.
It's pouring rain.
I don't know if it's pouring or not. It's more mystic. She likes to make everything. You're a embellisher. That's what you are. You're an embellisher. It's the writer in her. But man, come on! This is awesome! See up there. And then there's when the first few show up at Newcomb's and you get this. And we've got a bunch of people coming. So Danny, wake up. Danny, wake up. Darren, wake up. Well, Danny finally came and opened the door to tell us no. Newcomb's is closed today. Boy, would that have been nice to know, talking about it on the podcast, inviting people and having people come up. Apparently they put it on their Facebook page. I reached out on Instagram, but Newcomb's still lives. What's that?
Nobody goes to Facebook anymore.
Agreed. All right, you live, you learn.
Where are we going?
I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out. Bye. With the lemons, you make the lemonade. We have gotten a bunch of our people, not everybody, but a bunch of them together. And we're gonna go to Patty's in Burbank. So, we'll see you all there. There he is. What's up, you guys? Boom. Hi. We're all going to Patty's in Burbank. See you there. There's one guy who really wanted to go to Patty's. That's him. Gotta be on like 397 at this point in that car.
Okay, so wait.
That's good.
Possible
Next to it,
400
yeah.
that we were talking about earlier.
That's a crappy signature, but there we
Sign it
go.
again.
That's all right.
Sign it
Sign it again.
Did you sign your book? You remember that day, Mrs. Ryan?
I do, and I love that video.
Lemonade. I know. I think it was. I'm looking at that. I think it was 2 years ago, not last year, because at the end there we were in the podcast set, and this was Still Life with the Ryans. Because
Right.
the vantage point of that end there is literally what I'm looking at right now with the TV and the whole bit.
Time
Gary,
warp.
Gary, you weren't there, obviously. Puts me in the mind of Tommy Boy. Rob, you remember? You were there. Oh, it's so great. Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. What's going on, Mrs. Ryan?
There's new beverages at Starbucks for
What?
spring.
New beverages?
Yeah. There's
More
a
coffee.
there's a ginger one and a new matcha one that are iced.
What's matcha?
It's like a green drink. It's like a
Oh, okay.
tea.
Healthy?
The,
I mean, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Relatively.
but they've been doing this thing for a while on Thursdays. It's a happy hour special, but those are new drinks that are included in it. It sounds cool to me as a former, like, the option was like, okay, after work, we'll go to this bar and talk and do and meet and whatever. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You do other things.
I'm glad we started the show. Did you say Starbucks last time?
I hope so.
In my mind, I heard McDonald's. So that's why I asked you, Happy Meal? A Happy Meal hour? Now it makes no sense. Anyway, luckily you didn't see that. Oh, that's so funny. All right, please.
Well. For the first time in 2 decades.
I just realized I'm the only host who can do this with the person in this chair.
Yay!
No, I just realized that. Like, every once in a while I touch your shoulder or something, but that's everybody can do that. But like, I mean, I just realized. That's crazy. Our guest had left the room for a second.
Lucky me.
Our friend at home was still here, though.
Heads up. For the first time in 2 decades, BMW is redesigning their logo.
No. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
It's clear and the typeface is shorter. It's not as whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks kind of the same. It's just clear. It doesn't have the black outline.
Yeah.
It's cool looking. Whatever. They're doing something.
It's always been one of my favorite logos, that roundel. Always.
Really?
Always has been. Can't explain why. Always has been.
I get it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The colors are different, but it
That's
still
what
looks. Then you'll be disappointed.
The things, yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. I can't wait to have this conversation with the artist. People hold on to different things. We say this all the time.
Yeah. Okay. For the first time ever, Mickey and Minnie are hosting a ride together in Walt Disney World.
It's going to be
It's a railway ride.
a railway ride.
Raceway.
Train ride?
Yeah. Yes. They're calling it railway. Minnie and Mickey's Railway Adventure, basically. But it's another movie, and it's based around the song, which is really kind of what Disney does. Like, they kind of...
What song? No. I mean, I can't... You said the song.
It's a new song called...
Oh, I see.
It's something like "You Can't Stop Us Now." Now I'm forgetting words, but whatever. It sounds super neat, and it's the first time Minnie and Mickey are doing a ride together.
You're not the only one. Take that.
Go to Nerd.
Oh, it's so great. And that's been What's Going On, Mrs. Ryan. All right, we have gone further than we went last time. Feeling good. Feeling real good. Gary, have you enjoyed it? Seeing 2 tapings today?
Oh, I love this guy.
Each time.
Oh, goodness. Oh, you're too kind. All right, Mrs. Ryan, I think it's time to take a break and get our guest, Gary Schechner, in here to
That'd be
talk all
great.
about art. He's holding something I believe is a gift for us, and I'm ready to receive it.
Cool.
No, let's take a quick break. Gary Schechner is going to be sitting in that chair when we return. Late Night Playset will be more. We'll be back with more right after this. Unless you're bored. In which case, we'll see you another time.
so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by bears. Garlic and serrano mixed with love and care. You can put it on your eggs, pour it on your rice. It's great on a leg, it's better on a slice. It's oh so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by bears. Oh so delicious hot sauce. Great on everything except oatmeal.
Get your bottle today at ohsodelicious.org. $1 from every bottle sold goes to the National Military Family Association.
Everyone's talking about that.
It was humorous, though.
Brought it up on the show
He was
yesterday.
great.
Was that on the air that we talked about it? Is
Yeah.
that why you brought it up?
Actually, I also brought it up because of Laura brought it up when
Oh,
we had that
okay.
Porsche
Maybe
girl
that's
on.
what it was.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is lovely. You want to be about 6 inches away. That's
Okay.
that's the rule for. And tell
It-
your friends
it
for
feels
whenever they come on.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know when people
Good
6
enough.
inches away when I'm talking to them, though. That'd
Really?
be a little weird. Yeah,
Oh.
that's I think that personal space that becomes violated.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
with that, we are sitting here. There we go. We really are doing it with Gary Schechner. I'm
It
saying
is.
that right? Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Great. With Gary Schechner, a guy who I never knew existed until your art started showing up online, and then we had a guest show up who had a shirt with the same art on it, and I recognized it because you're that guy, the Stuttgart Gauge Art.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I know is it's about a week or so later, and you're sitting here. 2 weeks later, maybe at the tops.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I'm flattered.
Thank you for being here. This is good and exciting for us, but I'm not sure where you want to begin. I will tell you this. I was writing your card out today, and Mrs. Ryan forwarded me the email with that you had sent. I've never seen a guest more prepared. I'll just tell you now. I didn't read it. I thought if he's this prepared, we can just go. I'm okay with the conversation.
Putting me on the totally on the spot.
No. It was one of those things. You had a whole workflow and everything of how we could best tell your story, and I want to kind of go with that
Sure.
because you know it and I don't.
Sure, we could start with the art if that's kind of what really brought me to your couch today anyway.
Beautiful.
So really the whole art story starts about 3.5 years ago. A good friend of mine who happened to be my mentor said, let's do this thing called a 100-day doodle challenge. We're going to do a doodle a day for 100 days. And for me, it was a bit of a jump start back into my art and my love of doing things on a visual basis because I had a fine art background before I got to college and then decided I didn't want to be an artist because I was afraid of not having a job. So I kind of sort of buried the kind of fine art side of my life, but this kind of resurrected
That's also not
it.
very artist-like if you're worried about the...
No, it's not. But I've worked through it in therapy, and I feel really good about it now. And I feel like better late than never to kind of discover that this is really what I'm all about.
Good for you.
Thanks. So this 100-day doodle challenge became something of a bit of a habit where I started to feel this catharsis and flow state every time I would sit down to do my doodles, and it became kind of a morning routine for me. And then became days where maybe I didn't want to just stop with one doodle, and it became multiple days of multiple doodles a day. And now, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to read.
Sure.
We're talking about 17 of these books later.
Holy smokes.
So I had started posting them on Instagram, and I was starting to get some likes and some follows and some comments, and people had asked me, hey, do you make your art available? And so for one-off basis, I would go and have them blown up for people and put them on canvas. And then I had an idea after doing about 1,700 or plus of these. I said, maybe I should call someone who has some experience in the industry and can tell me, can I make this work on a commercial basis? So he takes a look at my Instagram feed and he goes, this is, all technically proficient. It looks nice. He goes, it looks a lot like Kandinsky and, the whole Bauhaus movement, mid-century, as you guys probably identify as well. And he said, but there's nothing remarkable about it. There's nothing that's unique. What he did, though, he picked up on one of the visuals, and one of the ones that I actually emailed you guys as well, was a 1967 Ford Mustang GT. One of my followers sent me a picture of his car, and I said, I'd like to do an abstract of your car. And that's sort of what kicked off this whole abstract RPM. So this art consultant saw this car thing. He goes, this is very different from everything that you're doing, and it's got your flavor to it. Why don't you continue to kind of go down that path? And so Abstract RPM sort of launched with this idea of taking a look at cars in a different light. So from there,
Abstract RPM it actually has its own name. I just didn't know it yet.
Well, actually, yes. I gave it the name. I'm calling it my own movement anyway.
Yeah.
So you were a little late with the Stuttgart art, but it's okay. I can pivot.
No, those are
have a whole
those are your
spin-off of a line.
hashtags. Those are just hashtags. Stuttgart Gauge Art.
Well, maybe we'll have to have a line just like we have for Lara's TPG stuff. So
Thank you.
It would be
It's
great.
called Late Night Playset. And
Yeah.
we'll see it soon.
I like it. We can make that work.
She's the boss.
So long story shorter, I just happened to have been at Pekla one day, Porsche Experience Center, Los Angeles, and I was waiting for a friend. We were going to have a coffee in the cafe down there, and I had taken a look at one of the Brumos Porsches there, and that's obviously a very famous livery. And I just did a quick abstract RPM, and then I tagged Pekla and I tagged Porsche Motorsports North America. And lo and behold, it turned out that the Porsche Motorsports North America social media team, actually the woman, Alexandra Toropova, liked it right away. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Are you guys in this building? And they came out, introduced themselves, and then they reposted that on my behalf.
That's awesome.
And that's where I think Laura and I then ended up kind of intersecting at that point, where she started to see my content. And then that's when I started to click in, okay, she's also seeing a lot of the Porsche community as well. And so Porsche as a brand has always been one of the, the halo brands for me as a kid. I had the 944 poster on my wall growing up. Like I was an 80s kid as well.
That's
so
awesome.
It sort of really kind of had a springboard from there. And as Laura told the story, I reached out to her and said, hey, which cars are yours? I'll do, something like a gauge up for you. And in fact, that's, a good segue into what I wanted to show you guys is that I did a mock-up for you and your 997.
Oh.
And this is just a study, but this is a good example of when I work with my clients on the commissions. I like to give them a first round of some thoughts behind the brand or their experience with their cars. It's a very much, the Easter egg of their car. So I obviously, this is just kind of a first draft to be working with you on this. But
so interesting.
It kind of picks up on the 111 of your number. So that's the Easter egg I bury in the speedometer.
Yeah, I see that.
And then obviously the yellow of your car as well. But
what I'm taken with here, and this is beautiful, and I love abstract RPM, yeah. What I'm taken with is that you posted more art that was us themed.
Correct.
Or whatever. I don't know how to say that, but there was like a meatball, and then there was also something else that I could swear I saw the P and the L from Playset in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just did a bunch of sketches. You don't just work in one place.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I try to make it such that, so the book becomes sort of like the daily start of the day. So it can be abstract RPM themed, or it can just be something as what I like to call my random doodles. It's a little bit of a visual diary, as it were.
Colored pencil? Is that what you're doing?
It's both color pencil as well as Posca acrylic pens.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I use, real simple tools, mostly rulers and stencils and things like that. There's very few things that are... I actually don't use a compass.
All stencils?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny, actually, when I've worked in larger format, like on 18 by 24, I'll actually steal pots and lids and trace
anything
those
you
as well.
can,
Right, that
to
has
get
a big
the size,
circle.
sure.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so fun. I mean, I remember that as a kid.
Yeah.
It's funny you get ingenious or ingenuity. You get, how do you get ingenuitous? Is that a word? You get to show your ingenuity. When I was a kid, I was a drummer. I'm sorry to take this from you.
That's okay.
And there's a thing, you want to put a port in your bass head so that you can stick a microphone through it, just like this. Anyway, what we figured out the best thing to do was, and for size and everything else, was put a tuna can on the stove.
Okay.
Ideally, an empty tuna can, just for a second, and then just place it right on the mile, and it would just perfect circle.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you learn, obviously, not to handle it directly at that point?
I don't remember, but I do remember what you're talking about running through, trying to find every round or cylindrical object, trying to find the right diameter that you're looking for to match whatever it is that you actually need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's honestly really kind of how abstract RPM really accelerated, was through that. But at any given time right now, I've got about 10 or 12 commissions sitting in the hopper.
This is amazing. You didn't even want to do this. You didn't even set out to do this. Somebody said, hey, man, you want to do the ice bucket challenge? And you're like, I'm going to do it every day for a year. And I'm going to start, and now I'm going to swim in Antarctica. Yeah.
But that's actually a little bit of how I've been wired, honestly. Like a good example of that is back in 2003, when I had been in LA and was running quite a bit of 10K distance races, a good friend of mine from business school had said, hey, I noticed you've been running quite a bit. Why don't we do a marathon together? And I said, marathon? Why would I want to do that to myself? I can run a 10K and have breakfast in the next hour. And then he comes back to me about 6 months later and he goes, I know what we should do together. He goes, we should do the Ironman together.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like,
Double
wait a second.
down.
So I'm going to finish, swimming 2.4, biking 112, and then run the marathon? Where do I sign up? So that's a little bit of how I kind of work.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
The variety is what got you.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's just a long day of exercise. That's how I tell people.
You're adorable.
Yeah.
Taking the details out of it, it just, you're a guy who jumps the fuck in.
Yeah.
Forget my...
Yeah, no, it's true. In sometimes a good way and sometimes a bad way. I mean...
Why would it be bad?
sometimes it doesn't always lead to the path that you perhaps thought it would lead to.
I think that happens a lot, but can't you turn that into a good?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think anything, knock on wood, has gone that horribly wrong yet.
Okay.
There's there's time.
Yeah, Gary. Oh, I'm sorry. The tape ran out again. Oh, geez. All right. Well, I mean, this art is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
It's
you're welcome.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, let's continue to work it too, by the way. I mean, I would love to actually give you guys something that we can put up either on like a wood panel or whatever. But yeah, it's
wood panel. Is that how they normally are done?
Well, so I'll do it a couple of different ways. A lot of people like to commission just on the black paper and then choose their own frame. But I've also been doing more with the galleries have asked me to do things on black canvas or on a panel with like, enough of a lip to it that actually it's like a gallery frame. So I'll paint the gallery, or I should say I'll paint the wood panel black, and then I'll do acrylic paint or acrylic pens on top of it. It really pops nicely.
It's amazing. I'm just you
Thank
could
you.
do anything. I mean, because you could do crazy border trick work with because of your colors and everything, the way you do it.
Right, and that's actually the beauty of what abstract RPM is about, quite honestly. Like, I mean, I've done a ton of Porsche stuff at this point, but, I'll also have the folks I have a 1967 Corvette C2 in the hopper right now.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so, like, that's honestly, when you stop and think about it, that's part of the reason why we all love cars the way we love cars. It's because of when we sat behind the wheel, right? Almost like the gauges are what speaks to us. It's, looking through the windshield and what is, having the steering wheel and the gas pedal and what is that experience like? And so whether you're someone who loves, the Corvette or somebody who loves the Ferrari, there's something very personable about the experience of owning the car and what it does to you. And so this artwork kind of draws upon, pun intended, don't forget, we're keeping score. It draws upon, a personal love or your personal interest in the car. Or motorcycle or whatever it is that it is.
Pretty deep, buddy.
Well, can I bring up what
Please.
you shared with us during the breaks? You just brought up motorcycle.
Sir.
You did a story about the BMW Roundel, and I buttoned up my mouth saying there was a time in my life where I was going to get a tattoo of that because I supported the mark so well. You have a tattoo of that, but
Yes.
more from the bike, from the motorcycle standpoint.
Yes.
You've got I don't know where it is on your body.
It's
I forgot to ask
on my
you.
left ankle. So the left
Oh, okay.
foot is the actual shift
that's where-
mechanism, right? Yeah. So
So clever, man.
Yes. Well thought out.
Think about all the details.
Yeah, so I did commit to their brand. I did put it on my body. It is because of my experience in riding the bikes. I'm now on my third BMW motorcycle. Great stories about being on the bike. There is really nothing like traveling by motorcycle.
I used to ride.
I believe it.
But I saw enough sheets on the freeway in Los Angeles where I just decided to stop riding. Would you consider yourself more of a motorcycle guy or a car guy?
That's a great
There's
question.
no wrong.
No,
I'm just curious.
no, and that's a really great question. Having spent 15 years in LA and doing the commute to Buena Park, so from Santa Monica to Buena Park, we could do the
That's
Californian thing where it was like 5 different freeways. But I spent those years on a motorcycle because there's no way you get out and do a 40-mile drive every day in a car without wanting to, put a bullet in your head. So in a lot of ways, I do consider myself to be a motorcycle guy first. But that said, I do enjoy driving. I still enjoy driving manual. In fact, when I moved back to Southern California this past fall, I made the car choice be about finding something with a manual because I had actually just come out of 2 different automatic electric cars, actually. So I actually was in the BMW i3 and the i3S prior to that. But I wanted to make sure the next car was a driver's car because I really missed that.
Sorry to stick on the BMW again, but I know the i3 pretty well. I thought that was fantastic. What is the S? Is it a sport model?
Yeah,
is it
the S
more
was
range or something.
It was a better range because they did more with the battery. They also added another, like a 4th driving setting, which was a little bit more sport tuned.
Oh.
Sport tuned, if you can call an electric car sport tuned. I know
also,
that
it was
Nicholas
just a little
Hunziker had
cube. You didn't need it.
Yeah, no, but it had a little bit more range. It had bigger wheels and tires, so it actually almost looked legitimate versus the bicycle tires that are typically on electric cars.
Yeah.
But there really is something about the electric car where that instant torque is it's amazing. Like I know people would pull up next to me and laugh at this car because it does look a little bit funky, but the reality is that it's still BMW's fastest car, 0 to 40.
Is that the one that lights up on the hood?
It's the little box. It's the little refrigerator one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's got the suicide doors
Mark
on
my
it.
words. This car is gonna change things, and I don't know if it did or not.
It did. Well, I mean, so actually BMW did announce that they canceled both the i3 and the i8.
Yeah.
I think they end up folding the battery and the technology into just the regular 2, 3, 4, 5 series.
It's kind of what it needed to happen, right? I mean, they weren't
good
going to
proof of
start a whole
concept.
new. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was
kind
fun.
of scion for Toyota, you know.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing, so I had the advantage as well when I was, driving this car, that I was also working with, or for, I should say, Shelby American. So I didn't need a driver's car because I had access to the pool of, 700 plus horsepower.
Look at you.
Yeah. Yeah. The struggle was real.
I'm sensing a lot of, and then you knew a lot about John DeLorean as well. I'm
little
sensing
bit.
that more the American muscle might be more where you mentioned vet and then working for Shelby
Yeah,
American.
I mean, it does resonate for me given that I've been in the industry. But, actually to G.I. Jen Nichols' podcast as well, one of her first cars was one of my favorite cars because I owned that as well. So I had a 95 Prelude VTEC. And so I've always...
You did? I loved that car.
I can't say
the VTEC was that there were 3 models, and that was the one.
Yeah, because back in the day, it was a pretty...
of a Honda Prelude, but I used to fucking covet that car.
I trust you. I don't know anything, so if you say it.
Yeah,
I'll
but...
listen.
It had the digital dash and everything, right?
Yeah. And it was like at after 5,000 RPM, the VTEC kicks in, and and it was like a whopping 200 horsepower. It was a fun car.
Maybe 225, maybe 210, maybe 205.
I think Jen did more to hers than I kept mine pretty bone stock, but I still enjoyed. That was a good car to kind of thrash around.
If you kept them stock, they would still be driving today. Those ones still are.
Yeah.
They were still a great, it was the little Honda engine.
Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty bulletproof.
Gosh, that's cool.
But no.
That wasn't your first car. You just owned that at some point.
No,
what
yeah.
was
that
your
was
first car. Can you say?
Yeah. And I know as I'm saying this, and my parents are laughing as I say this. So the first car was a hand-me-down.
Le car.
No, it was better than that. It was a 1974 AMC Hornet Sportabout.
Yeah!
With the simulated wood panel.
Dude, you would clean up at Radwood now with that car.
Now. But when I was 16 and in high school,
from then till now.
That wasn't the cool
From
thing.
then till now, no.
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah.
anything AMC.
Yeah, that's true.
Bring an Eagle. Yeah,
Scrambler,
I was going to say,
yep.
bring a regular... Oh, Scrambler would be so cool.
I know. So from there,
These were
brought me all
terrible
back.
cars in the 80s.
I don't know them at all, but
so
you're lighting
I'm still grateful that I had a car at that point, so I can't really complain.
That's where we always
Do you remember Back to the Future? We're bringing that up again, but the dad, they're about to kiss on the bench, save the clock tower, and the dad shows up, Jennifer, honks the horn. That's an AMC Eagle.
Yeah,
right? That was just
and actually, I just saw this post recently, but in one of Roger Moore's Bond movies, they launch. I think it was when he was doing Live and Let Die, and he was in the South. They actually do a ramp scene with the car kind of doing an endo 360 over the bridge. Yeah, and I think they launched an AMC Eagle.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And they really did it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Was it Breakfast? No, it's well, I want to say Breakfast Club, but I meant Animal House. However, that's still wrong. It's Blues Brothers. Then they drop the Nazis are in a Pinto?
Yeah,
Is it
I
a
think
Pinto
so.
they
Yeah.
drop from the sky?
Yeah.
They drop it. It ends up landing on the Universal backlot right into the ground.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What other falling cars? No. So it's your history that sort of has you along that mark. But you're clearly a Porsche guy. You're a PEC, and I mean your art certainly. This is not just somebody who's looked at it and said, "I could do that."
Yeah, no, it's definitely Porsche's in the blood. I've actually had some really great experiences as well with. So back in 2006, I had a chance to go to the World Cup.
Cool.
In Germany. And a couple of my buddies met me out there from school, and
That's the soccer one.
Yeah, that's that big soccer tournament. Yeah,
Is it the biggest sporting event in the world?
Yeah, something like that. And we just had quarterfinal, semifinal tickets, no big deal. But we ended up booking 2 Porsches through Avis. And we took
your rental cars. Oh boy.
And we took them to the Nürburgring for 2 days.
In Germany?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it wasn't enough that we had these late round games and we saw some epic matches, but then we spent 2 days, tooling around on the Nürburgring. And by the way, the cars are rentals, so it's at the end of the day, it's here's your car back. Just don't know about the brakes and rotors, but good luck.
Don't crash it.
Yeah. And it's life affirming. In fact, I think that should be on everyone's bucket list at some point is to make the pilgrimage to the Nürburgring, and if you can, get it done in the Porsche.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it about the Nürburgring? I mean, I certainly have raced it and everything. I'm aware of it.
Yeah. Honestly, the way that we did it, because we were all
Forza.
We were all virgins there in terms of the track would take almost a lifetime if you're just a tourist to really understand what it's all about. But what really blew me away was
Sabine Schmidt has spent her lifetime.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. What really surprised me was the importance of having your co-pilot paying attention to the mirrors for you, because as much as you think you're on it in a Porsche, there's going to be that guy that's in a
around you.
10-year-old, M5 that just blows your doors off, and you got to get out of his way. And it's something else. I mean, you come out of the car, after a lap, and you're like, you need a few minutes of like quiet. Like I just have to be by myself for a second, and it was amazing.
Do you find they take it that seriously everywhere there? I'm assuming you drove probably on the Autobahn a bit as well.
Yeah. The funny thing about the Autobahn, and I tell people this, is that the Autobahn's really no different than the 73. Really, I mean, like the toll road at any given time of night, day, or whatever, and you catch a clear lane, you can take your car.
Go.
Yeah, you can go 170 if you wanted to. I mean, good luck if you're not, going to get pulled over. But the reality of it is that just kind of mashing the pedal to go straight and fast, yawn. It's like after about 30 seconds, you're kind of like done with
American.
it. Yeah. So, but that's the other thing is that I've also had, I've spent quite a bit of time on the racetracks. I know that you've talked a lot about Sears Point in the past. I've raced at Sears Point on the motorcycle. I've been to and raced on
I still
Laguna
call it Sears
Seca.
Point, like you.
Well, they have to. I mean, that's what it'll always be. But once you had that kind of taste in your mouth about what it feels like to actually sort of like feel the car, move on you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
At speed, and then the faster you can enter that corner, for that matter. Like the Autobahn is sort of boring at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you. Wow, that's crazy. Most people don't.
Yeah.
They're like, so what's the 0 to 60? How fast have you gone?
Yeah.
I'm like, I literally don't know the answers to those questions. I've literally driven away. Remember that woman in Orange County I drove away from? And she was like, crazy.
Yeah.
I very politely tried to tell her that I didn't have answers to those questions. And then she started to humiliate me. You drive this car and you don't know, and the whole bit.
Right. I mean, the numbers are fun to know and to be able to throw around. And I, by the way, appreciate the fact that Johnny Lieberman has some kind of, savant memory of every single stat ever.
Rain Man, it was incredible.
Yeah, and I listened to it, and I mean, it's incredible what he knows and remembers, and probably forgets more than I'll ever know about cars in the industry. But to that end, I have a Shelby right now. It's a 530 horsepower, but like the reality of it is that it's not about like the horsepower. It's just what does it feel like to drive? It's like the visceral experience of being in a car, and kind of what does it do for you? How does it move you?
What was your first experience when it comes to racing? Because you're describing things when you move around, you move around and learning to trust that move around and then use that move around, and you know what I mean? Same thing. It's like learning a rear engine for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do, you finagle it. Oh my gosh, you can really master the whole thing. But you don't do that just your first time out on a driving education day.
Right.
So how did you work up to that point? Was it motorcycles first, or?
Yes, it was definitely motorcycles first. So I was very fortunate in that when I started to ride motorcycles again. So I started when I was about 5, and I stopped when I was about 14. Probably the best thing for me, because I'm sure I would have been dead. And I started back up again when I moved back to LA in 2001. And I was very fortunate in that I was introduced to a group of people who ended up taking me out to the racetrack under their wing and teaching me a lot of ridership and racecraft as well. So I had kind of great mentors in that space to really kind of show me the ropes. And so
it's all about the foundation.
Yeah, and the more you learn, the safer that you ride. It translates into everything that you kind of can do from there. But Willow Springs was my first experience on the track.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, big Willow, and then small Willow streets.
So speed.
Yeah, speed to a certain extent. So,
well, Big Willow is just a fast track. Even if you're the slowest car on the track, it's a fast track.
Yeah, I've seen God a few times on that track.
Going off, or
I've gone off on turn 2. This was before I had my race bike. So I was on a leader bike, Honda CBR 1000 RR, which is just more power than most of us will ever need.
It's a race car and a bike.
And I remember
it's got that Honda VTEC engine you mentioned before. It's almost the same horsepower.
Yeah. Well, and it made me look so fast. Let's put it that way. But I remember coming out of turn 2. Turn 2 has a lot of runoff to it, and there's a lot of rubber on the side. And I was passing one of the other people on the track that day. We were just
on the outside.
Okay. Because I mean, to pass someone on the inside, and you spook them, and then next thing you know, you're both kind of in the gravel.
I don't know motorcycle racing that well. I mean, I've watched it on television, but I don't know anything about the fundamentals of actually doing it.
Yeah, we'll take you out if you want sometime. Okay. All right.
Safest place to ride. I don't think I have the reflexes anymore.
Okay. The offer's there anyway.
Thanks, man.
No problem.
I'd love to come out and watch you do it. I could follow you in the car.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We should record that. What color's your bike? I'm sensing a YouTube video.
I've got videos for you, but not necessarily any I need to share right now. I've got some track videos for you. But long story short, coming out of turn 2 into Willow,
high side.
No, actually, luckily I didn't high side it, but I ended up taking my eye off of through the turn. That was one of the biggest lessons that you have.
And there, of all places,
Yeah.
because the camber changes when you come up.
Yep. And so I ended up taking the bike off-road straight. And luckily, I was able to kind of scrub off the speed before I dumped it. Yeah.
You go all the way to the fence, obviously.
Yeah, or
Did
those
you?
big cement barriers. No, I
No.
dropped before the barrier. Yeah. But again,
how fast do you think you were going when you came in through there? No, I mean just for because
Yeah, no,
stopping takes a while.
I think when
you don't have
I must
traction.
have come off the track probably easily at 60 miles an hour.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I thought you'd be saying more just because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that turn. Yeah, I don't think turn 2 would have come off any faster than 60.
If you high-sided it, it would have
Oh, it would have
flung
been
you
bad.
probably
Yeah,
over the fence.
that would have probably changed me forever. Yeah. Luckily, I mean, knock on wood, and I'm saying it this way. Like, luckily, I've had minor challenges coming off the motorcycle in my career.
I love what you said. I saw God, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw God. That,
Yeah.
enough to turn around.
Yeah. No, it'll sober you up pretty quick. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why, like, you know, the way that you ride on the street is going to be very different after you've spent time on the track.
I used to tell people, excuse me,
That's okay.
don't know you. St. Martin. Somebody in St. Martin? Maybe I should take this. I used to tell people, and I don't know where you grew up, but if you rode bikes in the dirt, when you grew up, if you rode in the dirt bikes, you were fine.
Yeah.
You were just fine because you learned the physics, and it's back to the foundation we talked about before. Where did you get the foundation? I mean, 5 years old is too...
Yeah. So
a 5-year-old should lose their teeth or their fingers or something. You know?
right, I had the bobblehead helmet, and my father actually rode, and so I was the kid that actually sat in front of my father, holding on to the handlebars when we would just go through. So I grew up in Philadelphia in the suburbs, and my dad would take us like.
Philadelphia, born and raised. Sorry.
It's okay. So we would do kind of the weekend ride together, and then there was a little Honda Trail 50 that we had in the garage as well. So I learned on that, and that became kind of my go-to.
You were outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah, in the suburbs.
Where?
Fort Washington. I went to Upper Dublin High School, so up off of the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Yeah.
If you know Montgomery
Yeah,
County.
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my aunts used to be in Well, they are in Conshohocken, but they used to be in
it's right down the road.
Collegeville, that whole area.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, I love that area.
Yeah.
So that's where you grew up?
I did.
We grew up in very similar areas. I was just in a Connecticut version, but lots of woods.
Yeah, no, we had a little bit of property as well, which was nice. And every once in a while, when the folks weren't home, I would take the motorcycle up and down the street.
Yeah. A little hellion.
Yeah.
You're hilarious. You just dump in random factoids. It's
You
great.
are. I'm loving how this whole thing came together, and the fact that you were so cool about our little hiccup snafu
It's all
before.
good. Yeah.
What have we not? We're getting close on time.
Okay.
You can come back anytime. You
Appreciate
are a friend of ours for sure. But what should we get to that we didn't get to today? Obviously, your art was important to cover. What's happening with this? Are there anything we should look forward to?
Yeah, so Laura did kind of give you guys the hint. We are going to be working together on a line of clothing. So we're going to have T-shirts, we're going to have hoodies. She actually just showed me a computer case. I am being brought in to help with the launch of the Taycan through Pasadena Porsche. That's coming up at the end of May. Through Laura, I've actually been able to kind of broaden my reach into Europe. And so I have two big clients out of Europe that I'm working with them on some identity work that they're going to be using for their branding. A group out of England called Auto Farm. They do restorations of like the 1972 Carrera RSs.
I think I follow them.
Yep.
Auto Farm, yeah.
And then there's another group called We Are Shifted out of the Eastern European countries. We're going to be working with them on some of their identity. And then I've got, like I said, at any given time, there's about 10 or so kind of floating around. I've got coverage at a gallery in Laguna Beach. I have a show coming up in June of 2021 in Chicago.
Whoa.
I also have another gallery carrying me in Chicago. So
That's
like
beautiful.
it's in the last year since this kind of thing took off, it's really been amazing. It's been a rocket ship for me. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Congratulations
Thank you.
on all of that. Where are you in Laguna? Because that's a great art town.
Yeah, so I'm actually right on Forest Avenue at a gallery called Pacific Gallery.
Right there in the main drag there.
Yeah, like
It's
you
beautiful.
literally hang a right, and it's one of the first couple galleries on the left, and I'm really excited to be working with them. Most of the people that I've been approaching with this, recognize that this is a very different form of car art, and it's very unique. And so, I've really appreciated the opportunity to not only work with the galleries, but also have these opportunities to work one-on-one with, commissions. I think people really enjoy the process of working with me because it's a bespoke piece of artwork. It's something that they get a chance to own because they weigh in on it. We design it together.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really fun adventure, and I'm really excited to see what happens next with it.
Congratulations
Thank you.
again. There's a neat ownership when you have something to do with the creation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're part of it. You get to celebrate it like it's yours, even if it's not all
your
yours.
DNA's in there somewhere just a little bit.
Yeah, and the other fun thing that's kind of worked side by side with that as well is that a lot of people have done it as gifts for a loved one.
Cool.
And so they also appreciate the fact that it's when they get a chance to present it to someone, they get that pride of saying, you know, I worked on this with the artist for you, and it's, you know, we give them, you know, all the series of the studies. So for instance, if I do something, it has 3 different studies that go to it. They get a copy of all of that, all signed, and like I package it up pretty nicely for them. So
you're just delightful.
Thank you.
Have you always been delightful?
I try to be.
Do you fancy yourself delightful? I mean, I feel like this is intentional. Whatever's before me is
this is it. This is who I am. Yeah, yeah. I think, you know, I think my parents must have done a pretty good job of raising me.
Is good for you for giving credit if that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'd say that you're probably holding it up pretty well.
Yeah, I try.
I was blown away by Porsche Girl when she was here because same thing as our guest yesterday. I guess, you know, you see people online and you don't really know what to make of them other than, oh, okay, well, I like what they're doing.
Right.
And I like what they seem to stand for. But then when you're looking somebody in the eye and having the conversation, you really get to feel what they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And you just feel great, man.
Thank you.
You
I
really
appreciate
do.
it.
I'm
And
really
likewise,
excited for
I love
everything
the vibe.
you've got coming up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. And, you know, it's been really fun meeting you guys face to face, too.
Thank you for that. But please be a friend of the show, whether, you know, whether you want to come back or whether you want to send, you know, stuff in, or if you want to share stuff or, you know, launch stuff, whatever it is, just know that if there's anything we can do for you, we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think that when Laura and I have our stuff ready to go, we'd love to come back on and show you what we've got going on.
Awesome.
Yeah, together. That'd
Terrific.
be great.
Thank you again.
And did we cover everything that we should cover? I want to make sure that you're taken care of business-wise and everything else.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mrs. Ryan, then I think that wraps us up, right?
I believe
we done
so.
here? What? I'm going to move this because the last 3 days in a row, someone has spilled here the moment we've done this part. Seriously. What do we have to... Oh, no, hang on, Gary. We're not done with you. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Yes, this is... If you
Is
haven't
this the
seen...
speed round?
If you haven't seen... It's time for 5 questions. Greg Kilborn. Oh, that's funny. We should do that. Let's bring it up out of retirement. This is a segment we call Final Thoughts, where it gives our guest an opportunity to speak directly to camera and address the audience out there. If you've got any words of advice, or if you have anything inspirational, or if you just want to say, hey, buy my art, it's really up to you. But this is your opportunity to have a few moments with my friend at home.
Well, I think that the message that you guys send on the show is important, and that everyone should be taking that to heart in terms of loving everyone. I live by kind of a mantra that has an acronym of DBAD, don't be a dick. And so I would, you know, as a motorcyclist, please look for us on the highway. Look twice. We are allowed to split lanes in spite of the fact that might upset you. So, you know, don't move over on us. And I guess life advice for everyone. I have another acronym, which is DHEN, which is die happy every night. Do what speaks to your soul. Do something every day that's going to make you happy. And for me, running after this art at full speed right now and what I consider to be the next chapter of my life is really what I'm all about. So I hope everyone who's watching and listening, or, you know, just do it, just pursue it.
Bravo. I want to applaud that. I thought that was great. Good for you. You didn't even, that was not prepared.
No, I wasn't ready for that, but I appreciate it.
I think you did awesome.
Thanks.
Good job, Sue.
Mrs. Ryan, let's see. That's the week, right? We don't have it tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I mean, we do have it tomorrow. Everyone has it tomorrow. We have it tomorrow.
Tomorrow is on the calendar.
Don't worry. We have it tomorrow. There
Somebody
will be a
call
tomorrow.
Australia.
I watched Late Night Playset last night. They said there'd be no tomorrow. Here we are. Okay, so that's it. There is no tomorrow. Sorry about that. Next week, though, we got a great guest. Steve Simcoe's here, Paul Provenza, and Eric Skurmantz. Eric Skurmantz from Porsche Motorsports.
Yeah.
Heavy
I haven't met him
Porsche
yet
Motorsports.
first face, but
Well, come on back on Thursday.
All right.
He'll be here. You came up from San Diego for this, right?
I did.
Oh, man. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
again for that.
You're awesome.
Mrs. Ryan, I love you so very much.
I love you too.
We love you so very much,
I
brother.
appreciate it.
Thank you for
Love you
being
both.
here.
Thank you
Thanks,
again.
Gary.
Thanks for the invite.
Breakfast Club tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
up at Newcomb Trench. We love you
Can't
at
wait.
home. Please love one another, and we'll see you next week.